Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to present to you this opening keynote address. It's my privilege to stand in front of you and talk about purpose before profit. I'm going to add 3 more words here. Purpose before profit. If not now, when? If not now, when? Ladies and gentlemen, the organizers at Kutch, Dr. Marceline, Mr. Gim, Fabian, and the rest of the team have really worked very hard to put this entire conference together. Sleepless nights, as I can understand, and a lot of hard work and sacrifices. Can we all applaud for them for the good work that they have done? Let me start with the first song for you. It's good to start with some music. It'll set the ball rolling. The song is about letting 1,000 flowers bloom. And if these 1,000 flowers bloom, the world becomes a better place to live in. We all have a purpose, and we live with that purpose. Marketing per se talks about a cliche, and the cliche is the world is in the market, and the market is in the world. If the world is in the market and the market is in the world, anything and everything is saleable, is what America believes. Anything and everything has a product value, is what the world believes. But if purpose comes before the product value, and if purpose comes before what we are trying to do to make this world better, we have to all allow 1,000 flowers to bloom. Let's play the video. For 1,000 different flowers to bloom, we need leadership. And in the times of crisis that we are currently in, leadership is all about a new definition. The definition is, a leader is someone with whom you will go where you cannot go alone. Let me repeat that for you again. A leader is someone with whom you will go where you cannot go alone. If leadership is cultivable, and if markets are expandable, what's going to make a difference in these markets is our ability to connect with the consumers, our ability to connect with the customers, and our ability to connect with societal issues. If purpose comes before profit, profit is not a dirty word to wash away. Without profits, the purpose cannot be achieved. Take an example of what India is trying to do. Recently accepted, passed by the parliament, 2% of your profits need to be invested into CSR activities, and those activities will be audited. The first country in the world to ever create an opportunity for the corporates to believe that purpose comes before profit. When this happened, there was uproar in the parliament from the opposition. They did not want this to happen. If I shared with you the millions and millions of dollars that will be invested on CSR from 1st April 2013, and they'll be audited end of the financial year each year that the organization claims it has made this profit. And this cannot be accumulated back for the next year. It's very simple. The government believes, the people believe, the parliament believes, the youth believe that this billion population needs to live differently. Very basic problems, problems of poverty, problems of malnutrition, problems of societal stigmas of rape, problems of child marriages, those challenges that we are facing as an economy, we need to evolve and make sure that we get out of the solutions to make these problems happen. Is it going to be so easy? Is it going to be so impactful? Let me give you an example. More than 17% of India's population still suffers from basic hygiene and sanitation. World Toilet Organization's prediction. In the next 3 years, we will be needing close to 0.5 million toilets of the right type and shape in different parts of villages of India. 56% of villages in India are still predominantly rural. They depend upon agriculture for the day-to-day living. If heart and soul has to reach out in the corporate world, not just education, which founders like Azim Premji of Wipro have done, which the very iconic Narayan Murthy of Infosys has done, or which the supersonic hero of corporate world, Shiv Nadar of HCL Technologies has done, of investing in education, they've realized that the social side also needs to reach out to the other elements of what we are trying to do. Let me give you another example. Singapore, per se, the biggest challenge for Singapore is aging population and reskilling. If Singapore has to survive in the next few years, it has to change the profile of its predominantly old population to attracting talent and skills that will be predominantly young and using that talent and skill for a social cause. Let me show you a video which is titled World Poverty, that will put together, that will encapsulate for you the thoughts of what's happening in the world across right now, and if we can get together to put purpose before profit. The video please, on World Poverty, the facts. Like the video. If you did, do please acknowledge that you liked it. Let's hear one for the video. Yes, key societal issues, key issues relating to what I just spoke to you, I presented to you. I've often met CMOs, and in the course of this conference, I had the opportunity of interacting with several CMOs from over 70 countries, all of which are represented here in the next 3 days, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asking them why purpose before profit is not just a single-minded focus of this world. Look at some of the fantastic answers that I receive. Today, the hyperactive business environment has led itself to believe that the challenges of evolution would be at stake. With these challenges of evolution that we are talking about, mankind has just a single objective in its focus, and that focus is if we can make a difference. The value of contribution, the value of what we are trying to do is to build an impact through the contribution that we make back to the society. I'll give you simple examples of what really happens. In several organizations, in Unilever Group, they were located in the town side of Mumbai, which is a completely crowded place. They shifted to a suburban place. They all chose to stay not in town side, but in the suburbs, pool in cars together, reduce carbon impact, and all the 18,000 employees decided that for 1 hour every evening in their houses, they're going to switch off lights. For 15 minutes in the office, they'll switch off computers, and for a large period of time, they will make sure that water is conserved and recycled and reused. In the 100-acre factory where they are located in one of the suburbs in Mumbai, they decided that each is going to make a contribution by planting trees into that location. They created an impact, and that impact was so rippling that people in many other parts of that location started doing exactly what they were doing. The point here to make is, if we decide to build our lives with impact, impact comes back to the society in larger proportions. When impact comes back to the society and the change occurs, attitudes change, mindsets change. And when mindsets and attitudes change, people prevail themselves upon one belief. My belief is that I can contribute value to make a difference for what I am born with a purpose. I'll give you another example. Ganesha is a very big festival in our country. The Ganesha festival is celebrated with pomp. It's celebrated with a lot of gaiety. There are a set of educated people who believe that Ganesha is important, but we're going to get into eco-friendly Ganeshas. Use eco-friendly Ganeshas, and whatever money we save in the idol that we keep for worship and in the worship process that we do for religious purposes, we're going to use it to give it to the poor children. And they all got together and they collected $1 million for the poor slum areas of Dharavi in Mumbai. A lot of these stories are not written. They're unsung heroes of this civilization that believe by making an impact, you can actually talk about it because it's not what you say, it's your action that plays a very important role. I spoke to you about leadership. I said to you that leader is someone with whom you will go where you cannot go alone. Think about it, reaching out for basic things like water becomes a very big issue. When you reach out for basic things like water and you get water for 15 minutes in the locality where you're staying, how many of us in our own heart and soul believe that the water we spill at home, the excess water we use for bath, can also be recycled? And here is a story of what happened with the water crisis. As the oil reserves in some part of Gulf dry out, it's going to be water that is going to be used to be recycled, because these salinated plants will need water for recycling, need oil for recycling to feed their citizens who are a part of that world. The key point again here is, if water crisis emerges, if everything in the corporate world is going to revolve around profit, and if basic things like water, hygiene, nutrition, malnutrition, and not being able to reach out with a social purpose and a social cause is not going to impact the lives of many, I think it's time for us to change. Let me present to you a short video that talks of water crisis in the world, put together and encapsulates about the changes we need to make. The video, please.
Our bodies are as much as 60% water. All living things contain it, and like us, depend upon it for survival. Although 70% of the earth is covered with water, a staggering number of the world's poor lack even the most basic sanitation and access to clean water. 97% of the water on earth is salt water. 2% is frozen in glaciers and ice caps. Only 1% is fresh water. That needs to be enough for everyone. All 7 billion of us. 1 out of every 8 people on Earth searches every day for clean water. 1 in 6 has no access to a toilet. None. Think about that. What would your life be like if that were you? Well, no bottled water, I guess. And no water running from the tap at home, so no shower. But seriously, no toilet? Not even this?
Every day, women around the world walk mile after mile to collect water for bathing, cooking, cleaning, and for their families to drink. They can only take back home as much as they can carry. Often that water is teeming with bacteria that will make them sick. But they have little choice. To go without even this polluted water would mean dehydration and possible death.
You can only go 3 days without water.
Countless hours spent searching or waiting in line. Lives and days wasted by illness. Time lost that could have been spent in school, at work, planting, building, providing for their loved ones.
Every 20 seconds, a child dies from a water-related illness like diarrhea.
I'm afraid he might ask me the same question. I hope it made an impact on you. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is the state of affairs in the world, a conference like this can do magical wonders in building an impact, in giving one key message. Why are we sitting back and not reacting? Why are we not doing something about it? Small actions can make a big difference to the world. And therefore, if the world has to take ideas, new ideas, that have to emerge into what we have to do with newer paradigms, the older paradigms must shift. And we must be prepared to believe when the paradigm shifts, everything goes back to zero. And when everything goes back to zero, newer paradigms will emerge. Those newer paradigms will create newer ideas and newer beliefs in people to bring about a change. What today seems impossible to do? It's a key question I'm asking you. What today seems impossible to do, and if it were done, would fundamentally change the way in which we run our businesses or we run our social activities. Do the impossible. Because when you're able to do the impossible, you stretch yourself, you challenge yourself, you build yourself into a more agile human being who's capable of contributing value, making a difference, and making that difference with a big impact. 3 times that change occurs in me, it becomes a habit. This is what psychologists say. Each habit that I change becomes my character. And with that character, I formulate my attitude and actions. Thinking creative, thinking out of the box is a mere habit. We either cultivate it every day or we forget that our lives are routine, our lives are very, very set, and even if the paradigm shifts, it's not going to impact us. Therefore, what does it take for the world to share ideas for ending some of the key problems like poverty, malnutrition, and something of that sort? What does it take? I put together a video that will tell you what we could do to make action. Let's watch the video again. what does it take? You know, there's a beautiful saying that says, the old order changeth, yielding place to new, lest God fulfills himself in many ways. Change. Everything about change. Inspire people. Let me share a small story with you. There was once a very famous author. He was very fond of writing books. Every day in the morning, he would wake up, walk by the seaside, go back to his cottage and continue writing. He did this for many years and he produced some of the best-selling books. His name is Joel Barker. He's a futurist. He created the concept of the business of paradigms. One morning, as he was walking by the seaside, he sees a strange phenomenon. From a distance, he sees a human figure dancing. He wonders to himself, the sun is up, it's going to get warmer by the day, why should anybody be dancing? He gets curious. He walks up to this human figure and says, young man, what are you doing? The young man says, can't you see? I'm picking up starfish and putting them back into the sea. But young man, there are miles and miles of starfish. You can't save all of them. To which the young man looks at the author and says, the one which is in my hand, when I throw it against the dashing waves, it makes a difference to this one. The response surprises the author. That night he cannot sleep. The next day in the morning, along with the young man, he gets up and starts throwing starfish into the sea. The moral of the story, if we throw our stars wisely and well, the 21st century is ours. Then purpose before profit becomes a motto, a mission, a vision. But if we cannot throw our stars wisely and well, we have perhaps lost out. Please remember, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. Vision with action can change the world. When you have a vision, you encapsulate it, you put in the action plan, you can actually contribute value to changing the world. Do you want to change the world? Are you responsible for what you do? Do you ask socially relevant questions in situations that we are supposed to impact like these? And those socially relevant questions become the quotient of intellectual debate in everything that we do with action-oriented plan. Dr. Marceline and team have been wonderful to put this concept of purpose before profit. They now need to transgress this into the nook and corner of geography. Talk about it, tweet it, Twitter it, and let people know that you can make it happen. Let me end with a little song, which is one of my favorite songs, which is titled, Heal the World, Make It a Better Place to Live In. Ladies and gentlemen, watch the number as I conclude.
Think about the generations and to say we want to make it a better place for our children and our children's children so that they know it's a better world for them and think they can make it a better place.
For the generations to come, the world needs to be a better place. And for the generations to come, we need to take accountability. For the generations to come, we need to take responsibility, and for the generations to come, we need to stand up and say, I will contribute to change. If we don't do it now, we'll never be able to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, if not now, when? Thank you.